Before the sun rises, while the world still sleeps, geishas are already shaping something that no mirror could reflect: character. What they do in the early hours of the morning is not just preparation for the day, it's preparation for a lifetime. And today, you will discover these secret rituals that transformed ordinary women into living legends. In ancient Japan, it was said that a true geisha wasn't born upon waking, she was created. Every morning movement was intentional, every gesture carried meaning. While most people wake up and drag themselves into their routine, geishas understood something profound. The morning isn't just the beginning of the day, it's the moment you decide who you will be. In the next few minutes, I'll reveal 6 morning practices they use to sculpt inner strength, unwavering discipline, and a presence that commanded respect without a word. And most importantly, you can start tomorrow. Awakening before the need. There was a geisha named Yukiko who lived in Kyoto at the end of the 19th century. She was known not for her beauty, but for something rarer: her unwavering presence. While other apprentices rushed frantically through the mornings, always late, always panicked, Yukiko seemed to float through the day with a calmness bordering on the supernatural. Her secret lay not in any magical technique. It lay in something so simple that most ignored it. She woke up 2 hours earlier than she needed to. In the silent streets of Gion, even before the merchants opened their doors, Yukiko was already awake. Not because someone forced her. Not because an alarm clock rang loudly demanding her attention. She woke up because she had decided that her life would begin on her terms, not on the world's terms. While others spent their time putting out fires from the very first minute, she silently lit her own flame, controlling when and how the fire would burn. There's a stark difference between waking up because you need to and waking up because you choose to. When the world jolts you from sleep, whether through a blaring alarm, an urgent obligation, or an unavoidable commitment, you've already started losing. You're responding, reacting, defending yourself. But when you open your eyes before any external voice demands it, you reclaim something precious: control. In those first hours, you belong to no one. Not to your boss, not to your family, not to your bills. You belong to yourself. Geishas understood that the morning was not just time, it was territory. Every minute gained before the need arose was an inch of ground where they could plant their intentions. They knew that whoever controls the morning, controls the day. And whoever controls the days, eventually, controls their entire life. It wasn't about obsessive productivity. It was about existential sovereignty. It was about deciding, today I will not be pushed by life. Today I will pull life toward me. Now pause and be brutally honest with yourself. When you wake up, who's in charge? Is it you choosing to get up, or is the world dragging you out of bed? Do you wake up to live, or do you wake up to survive? Because there's a world of difference between the two. The person who wakes up before they need to is building something. The person who only wakes up when forced is just avoiding falling apart. Which of these people have you been? The ritual of purifying water. Imagine waking up in a traditional wooden house in the dead of a Japanese winter. The floorboards creak beneath your bare feet, and the air cuts your skin like invisible blades. You walk to a ceramic basin where the previous night's water awaits, icy, unforgiving, defiant. Your hands tremble as you plunge them in. Every cell in your body screams, no. But you take a deep breath and wash your face anyway. This was a geisha's first conscious act upon waking. Not gentleness, not comfort, but intentional shock. Cold water wasn't punishment. It was a declaration of war against drowsiness, against laziness, against the version of herself that wanted to remain hidden under warm blankets. When that water touched her skin, something happened that no alarm could cause: a real awakening. Not the awakening of the body that stumbles out of bed, but the awakening of the mind that ignites like lightning. Geisha knew that you can be standing and still be asleep inside. And a woman asleep in waking life doesn't survive. There's a brutal truth that our comfort culture tries to hide. Discomfort is training. Every time you choose the easy way out, you're teaching your brain that difficulty should be avoided. Every time you postpone that cold shower, silence the alarm clock once more, choose the easiest option, you're programming cowardice into your cells. The cold morning water wasn't about physical cleansing. It was about psychological cleansing. It was about looking discomfort in the eye and saying, "You don't control me." Think about how many times you wake up physically but remain an emotional zombie all day. Body present, mind absent. You're in the meeting but not really there. You're talking but not really listening. You're living but not really feeling. Geisha understood that this mental fog was the true enemy, and cold water was the sword that cut this fog at the root. 3 seconds of voluntary shock were worth more than 3 hours of involuntary drowsiness. Now the question you need to answer isn't, can you wake up early? The question is, can you really wake up? Can you face that first discomfort of the day without bargaining, without backing down, without promising yourself you'll do it tomorrow? Because if you can't overcome cold water, how will you overcome the turbulent waters of life? If you bargain with discomfort in the safety of your home, you'll surrender at the first sign of difficulty outside. The morning is the training ground, and you're failing or succeeding even before the world tests you. Silence before words. There was an okiya, a geisha house, in Kyoto where an unwritten rule reigned. No words were to be spoken in the first hour of the day. Not "good morning," not "how did you sleep," not even a whisper. The apprentices would wake up, purify themselves, and then sit in absolute silence. Not in the perfect lotus position, not reciting sacred mantras. Just sitting, just breathing, just existing in the void before the world began to shout its demands. And in that silence, something magical happened. They met. The morning silence wasn't an absence of sound. It was the presence of oneself. While the world still slept, while no one asked for anything, while no external voice invaded their thoughts, they had access to something rare, their own inner voice. Not the voice of fear that says, "What if you fail?" Not the voice of anxiety that screams, "You have so much to do." But the voice of clarity, the voice that knows. The voice that, when you stop running long enough, whispers exactly what you need to hear. Think about your typical morning. You open your eyes and the first thing you do is grab your phone. Notifications explode on your screen. Emails from people wanting something from you. News of tragedies you can't solve. Messages from friends, bosses, strangers, algorithms. Before you even get out of bed, you're already responding. You're already reacting. You've already surrendered control of your mind to 1,000 voices that aren't your own. And then you wonder why you spend the whole day anxious, distracted, exhausted. You never had the chance to create your day. You only responded to the day that others created for you. Geisha understood something profound. The first voice that inhabits your mind in the morning defines the battlefield. If the first thing you consume is other people's problems, you are programming your brain to live in defense mode. If the first thing you listen to is your own breath, your own thought, your own intention, you are programming yourself to live in creation mode. It's not empty spirituality. It's brutal mental strategy. It's saying, before belonging to the world, I belong to myself. So here's the challenge that will separate those who truly want to change from those who only want to appear to want to. Tomorrow, before touching your phone, before speaking to anyone, before checking anything, sit for just 5 minutes in complete silence. No music, no podcasts, no distractions, just you and your thoughts. If you can't do this, If 5 minutes of silence seems like impossible torture, you need to understand something. You're so addicted to external noise that you've lost access to your own mind. And a person without access to their own mind is a puppet. Who's pulling your strings? To dress in spiritual armor. A young geisha apprentice took 2 hours to get fully dressed. 2 hours. Each layer of the kimono had to be adjusted with millimeter precision. The obi, that wide sash across the back, was tied with a technique that required years of practice. The white makeup was applied like painting on a sacred canvas. And throughout this entire process, she wasn't just getting ready. She was transforming. She was leaving behind the insecure girl and embodying the woman who commanded respect upon entering any room. Dressing wasn't routine. It was a ritual of war. You need to understand, a geisha lived in a brutal world. A world where powerful men decided destinies with a nod of their heads. Where one wrong word could ruin an entire career. Where vulnerability was weakness, and weakness was a social death sentence. So she couldn't afford to appear sloppy, disorganized, unprepared. The kimono was her armor. The makeup was her shield. The elaborate hairstyle was her helmet. She wasn't adorning herself. She was fortifying herself. Each perfect fold was a reminder, I am not a victim of circumstances. I am the architect of my presence. Now look at yourself. How do you dress in the morning? Do you grab whatever's in the closet because it doesn't matter? Do you leave the house looking like you've just lost a battle against life? Do you look in the mirror and see someone who has given up or someone who is fighting? Because neglecting your appearance is not humility. It's not being authentic or detached from superficial vanities. Often it's giving up disguised as virtue. It's saying to the world, I don't deserve my own respect, so why would you respect me? Geishas knew something our culture has forgotten. Caring for your appearance is caring for your identity. When you dress intentionally, not to impress others, but to honor yourself, something changes inside. You walk differently. You speak differently. You occupy space differently. It's not an illusion. It's pure psychology. Your brain reads your external appearance as information about who you are internally. If you present yourself as sloppy, your brain believes you are sloppy. If you present yourself as someone who respects themselves, your brain begins to treat you with respect. So stop lying to yourself by saying, looks don't matter, while feeling invisible in the world. Stop confusing simplicity with sloppiness. You don't need to wear expensive clothes. You need to wear clothes with intention. You don't need perfect makeup. You need a version of yourself that, when you look in the mirror, you see someone ready to face the day, not someone running away from it. Tomorrow, before leaving home, stop in front of the mirror and ask yourself, is the person I see ready for battle or have they already surrendered before it even begins? Your answer will reveal everything. Movement before thought. Every morning, before the sun fully touched the horizon, a geisha named Fumiko walked barefoot through the garden of her okiya. It wasn't running. It wasn't intense training. It was conscious, deliberate, almost meditative movement. She slowly extended her arms, feeling each muscle awaken, each joint stir. Sometimes she practiced dance steps that had taken her years to master. Other times, she simply breathed deeply as she walked among the cherry blossoms. And something extraordinary happened. Her mind, which had awakened hazy and heavy, began to clear. Not because she forced positive thoughts, but because the moving body carried the mind along with it. Geishas understood something that modern science has only recently confirmed. You are not a mind carrying a body. You are an integrated system where body and mind are inseparable. When your body is locked, rigid, stagnant, your mind mirrors that prison. Thoughts get stuck in anxious loops. Emotions cling like mud. Decisions seem impossible. But when you move your body, when the blood flows, when the muscles stretch, when the breath quickens, the mind is allowed to move as well. Physical movement creates mental movement. This wasn't abstract philosophy. It was survival technology. Have you ever noticed how on days when you don't move in the morning, everything seems harder? Tasks weigh more heavily. Conversations drain more energy. Small problems seem like insurmountable mountains. You blame stress, work, people. But often the problem is simpler and more ignored. Your body has been still for hours, and your mind is trapped in that immobility. Anxiety, at its core, is trapped energy with no outlet. You're sitting, but inside you're running in circles. Morning movement isn't about fitness. It's about giving your nervous system a release valve before it implodes. Geishas never waited for motivation to move. They moved first, and the motivation came later. That's the secret nobody tells you. You don't need to feel good to move. You move so you can feel good. 10 minutes of stretching, a 5-minute walk, dancing around the room like an idiot. The format doesn't matter. What matters is that you break the inertia. Because physical inertia feeds mental inertia, and mental inertia feeds emotional inertia. And before you know it, a month, a year, a lifetime has passed while you stood still while the world moved around you. So here's the final morning test. Before sitting down at the computer, before diving into tasks, before letting your mind hijack you with 1,000 worries, move your body for at least 10 minutes. It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be Instagram-worthy. It needs to be real. And when you feel that inner resistance saying, "I don't have time, I'll do it later, I'll skip it today," recognize that's not your voice. It's the voice of stagnation trying to keep you exactly where you are. Still body, still life. Body in motion, life in transformation. You choose which version you want to live today. Gratitude before ambition. Before leaving her room each morning, a geisha did something that seemed to contradict everything the world taught her. Instead of mentally running through her to-do list, instead of thinking about the difficult client she would have to entertain that night, instead of worrying about the debt she was still paying off on the house, she stopped. And she acknowledged 3 simple things. I woke up. I breathed. I have another day. It wasn't forced positivity. It wasn't pretending problems didn't exist. It was anchoring herself in reality before diving into the battle. It was remembering that she already possessed the most important thing, life. There is a stark difference between ambition born from abundance and ambition born from emptiness. The first says, I want more because life is abundant and I deserve to grow. The second screams, I need more because what I have is never enough and I will never be enough. One moves you, the other corrodes you. Geishas lived in a merciless world where they had to fight for everything. But they understood that if they started the day operating from scarcity, from despair, from it's never enough, they would have already lost. Because despair attracts despair. Emptiness attracts emptiness. And a desperate woman accepts crumbs thinking they are banquets. Now think honestly. How do you start your day? Is the first thing your mind does to list everything that's missing? Money you don't have. A body you haven't achieved. A relationship that isn't working. A career that hasn't taken off. Respect you don't receive. You wake up and are already in emotional deficit before even getting out of bed. And then you spend the whole day trying to fill a hole that you dig bigger with each thought of scarcity. You chase, chase, chase. And when you finally achieve something, you don't feel victory. You feel temporary relief before the next thing you need to achieve. Morning gratitude isn't about settling for mediocrity. It's not about accepting less than you deserve. It's about reprogramming your starting point. When you acknowledge what you already possess, health, ability, opportunity, breath, you're telling the universe, I am already rich in things that money can't buy. And from this position of fullness, your ambition becomes pure. You want to grow not because you're broken, but because you're whole and want to expand. You seek achievements not to fill a void, but to express potential. And this subtle shift in energy changes everything. People sense when you operate from desperation, and they exploit you. But when you operate from inner abundance, you attract respect, opportunities, real alliances. So here's the final ritual that seals everything. Before checking pending tasks, before planning achievements, before visualizing goals, say aloud 3 things you already possess and for which you are grateful. It doesn't have to be grandiose. It could be, I have a roof over my head, I have people who love me, I have a body that functions. Does it seem too simple? Good. Because you've been conditioned to believe that only the complicated works. But the truth is this: you cannot build external abundance operating from internal misery. Morning gratitude is not a denial of reality. It's recognizing that you already have the foundation. Now you can build the empire without despair, without emptiness, with power. If you've made it this far, something inside you knows you deserve better mornings. Choose just one of these practices and start tomorrow. Not all of them, just one. And when you feel the difference, come back here and tell me in the comments which technique you chose. Subscribe to continue discovering the forgotten wisdom of the Geishas. See you in the next video.